Hey y'all, got another short war here for you, but hey, Killmonger's back, and Toad is back, so it's gonna be a fun war. So first off, we're taking Blade here. Blade is Conduit. Poison does not adequately control Conduit, so we're not going to be relying on that side of Toad's kit, but Blade is a skill champion, which means that we have a significant chance every time he dashes back for that to happen, or dashes forward, and for him to convert these active poisons that we're placing on him to passives, which will then not have their duration reduced by Blade's other nonsense, and will allow us to just do damage against him solidly as we go without having to worry about knocking him down. Now, ideally, I don't know, if this fight weren't going this incredibly well, I think I might actually have considered throwing a special 1 before continuing up to the special 3 and just dealing with the conduit healing for a little bit. But it's going really well, so that's just not necessary. Additionally, a duped Toad would be gaining prowess as we go here, meaning that when we finally do throw our special 3, it would apply a bunch of poison passives instead of just the one we're going to get. So this could go better, but you're seeing that just Toad at his bare minimum with some of the worst poison RNG I've ever seen. Like, almost none of those active poisons got converted to passives. Still just completely destroys this. Really, really good matchup. Toad is so good for skill champions, and that's a relatively dangerous conduit defender just completely taken off the board. So then I didn't have any fights in tier 2. I just took an empty path and ran right over here to these mini bosses. And you've seen me do Hyperion against iHulk. I honestly don't. I try not to comment too much on placements because path splitting is a major thing, where sometimes you don't necessarily want a particularly difficult fight. You just want a fight that forces a particular attacker who can't take the other person on that fight. But this is a mini boss. Almost anyone on the map can get here. And not only does iHulk not have active regen buffs, so he doesn't trigger the unblockable for this node, but Safeguard actually makes him easier to fight. Because remember that red numbers don't give iHulk Gamma unless we're talking about specifically recoil or degen damage. Whereas regular hits do give him Gamma. And so sometimes with a champion like Hyperion, who has amazing damage over time, but also hits very hard on their actual hits, a champion, it can be a bit of a race to get iHulk down to 0 before he gets to 15 Gamma. But if you're capping all of his hits with Safeguard, then you don't really need to worry about that. You're never going to hit that hard, you're not going to be giving him that much Gamma, and you can just focus on stacking those red numbers. And as you can see, he's going down here, and he'll have just gotten to 9, and then he's done. So, I think that this is not just a less than amazing placement for iHulk. I think that one is actually a mistake that was a bit of a waste of a conduit defender. So that's the only reason that I call that out. So we have seen this Omega Sentinel before. She makes a certain amount of sense, because even if you have somebody who applies Incinerate or Poison, you still have to deal with her auto block, and there aren't a whole lot of people who do deal with her auto block and also apply Incinerate or Poison who don't also need their basics to gain power. But Hyperion is just amazing for this. Nebula is fine, but Hyperion absolutely destroys this. We didn't get particularly lucky with the Furies. We had solid RNG on the Incinerates. But the thing to remember about Omega Sentinel is that although she has some dangerous mechanics, and although she has the highest base attack in the game, she also has one of the smallest health pools. And so if you are using someone who actually does answer her, then it looks more like this, and there is nothing to worry about. That placement makes sense. Hyperion's just a very good counter. And so then we have Mr. Fantastic, who I haven't seen on this node in a while, but I used to take with Killmonger when he was rank 3 all the time. And so this is basically exactly the same fight. You play carefully at the very beginning because remember, Killmonger's a non-metal villain. He cannot benefit from the House of X pre-fight to get around Limber. Additionally, you probably don't want to trigger Hard Knock Life because it can mess with a lot of Killmonger's other abilities. But basically the fight is over as soon as that first special lands, or is thrown, because as long as you don't get hit by it, you get True Strike up, and the debuffs that he's throwing on you make it really easy to go up to another special. Excuse me. Make it really easy to go up to another special, and then you just have to keep switching specials. Because if you throw the same special twice in a row, then you will get that crossfight passive on yourself. And not only does that suck because it takes away a source of damage by just really hard nerfing one of your specials, it also is giving Mr. Fantastic extra attack in case you do mess up, and doing so in a way that does not give you willpower. So you really want to avoid it on both counts. Everything else about the fight is just super simple. True Strike turns off his primary defensive threat in both ways. It gets around his physical resistance and gets around his evade. The bleeds aren't doing quite as much through inequity, and Killmonger doesn't have amazing bleeds anyway, but yeah, this is just nothing. If we had wanted to, we could have built to the special 3 at this point, because it's easy to keep True Strike up, but usually by the time you get to 15 bleeds, Reed's almost gone anyway, and as you can see, finished at 100% health. Really, really solid counter. And that was my war. A short one again, but that is what was needed, and we had a really good war in the BG again. We did have somebody just forget to change masteries properly, and that caused a death, and then there was another one where just got caught by a special while they thought they were dexing, and we all know that that happens from time to time, and that was it. And I will take 2 deaths in a war pretty much at any time, even if that means that we lose. That is kind of our goal as an alliance. There are alliances that go harder than us, who come in under that regularly. We're okay losing to them if we perform that way, and so I'm really proud of the group for delivering on that. That's 2 deaths in our first 100 fights over the first 2 wars. Really, really happy with that. The alliance as a whole did win, but we do have some things to clean up, like I said earlier. Not really going to go into that more, but, you know, we just keep polishing, right? Moving forward. So until next time, thanks so much for watching, and take care.